Are we live? Is this thing on? I think we are live. We are live. What's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. Coming to you live from the bunker. Apparently, my light kits only work when it's pretty outside. It's pretty funny. So I've got to get new light kits for this place because for whatever reason, they kind of randomly just do and do not work. But what I have noticed is that it is humidity related. At least it seems to be. And so sometimes we got lighting in here. Sometimes we don't. Anyway, was working on some tune revisions for Stormy, playing around with the tow haul mode, mainly because with the DT Rams, they've got this weird quirk with the transmission. So you why did you come to McAllen? Oh, I've got clients in McAllen. So anyway, I have Gary's in saying, hello, everyone. What's up, Gary? So what's weird is that you have a kind of a weird deal. You have the truck in drive, and then you come to a stop. Well, the truck transmission will go into neutral. Now, it doesn't shift into neutral, but the transmission internally shifts into neutral. Now, that's not that big of a deal. What's up, Chuck? It's not that big of a deal. It's just that when you go to leave the stoplight, for example, you take your foot off the brake and there's a delay and then it kind of moves. Well, if you take your foot off the brake and put it off the gas quickly, there's kind of a weird out of syncness to it. It does not happen in tow haul mode, though. It does not do that whole weird shift thing. So anyway, that's what I've been working with HP Tuners to try to locate what tab it is to where you can, number one, make the tow haul mode and the trash control mode default in certain directions. The second thing is to make the vehicle to where you can tune out that automatic neutral shift. I'm guessing that's for, I don't know, it can't be for emissions. I can't really see where that would really come into play. So it just doesn't really make any sense. The weird thing about it too is that it will still start stop in tow haul, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, lots of goofy stuff to play with. Ardell's in saying, good evening, B. What's up? Candy saying, will you get a brand new 2023 Challenger to get the green go color because they're bringing back the past colors? No, probably not. The reason why I probably will not is because that would necessitate me getting rid of my first edition Hellcat. And man, I got to tell you, I love the green go color. It is probably number 2 on my list of favorite colors, maybe actually number 3, with red line red and frostbite kind of vying for first place, and then dark granite being the second one. But no, probably not. I'm going to keep and hold what I've got for now. I did think about it though. So I did think about it, and I was thinking about going with a 23, putting Revlon all back to stock, trading it in on a 23 and saying, oh, I got the last of them. Here's the thing though. It's a thought exercise more than it is a plan of attack. And what I mean by that is this. I like saying I've got an early release 2015. It just kind of makes me feel good, even though the operating system is better in the newer cars, probably less issues with electrical problems and glitchinesses and all that other kind of stuff. There are some quirks to the 2015s that no of the other year cars have that just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of like it. Plus, there are some defects with my car. Not major defects, just like paint defects it just kind of makes my car endearing to me. It just makes me like it even that much more. So I'm going to keep mine. Scott saying, howdy, sir. Howdy, Scott. Roy saying, what's up, Mr. B? What's up, Roy? Oh, Candy's got a Green Go Challenger. Very nice. Chuck Rice is saying, hell raising. Absolutely. You know, the first hell raising anything I ever saw was a super stock that was hell raising. I'm going to put it on that super stock the first time we lined up, by the way. Ardell's liking Cinnamon Stick. Man, Ardell, Cinnamon Stick is growing on me. It is growing on me. Jeremy's saying, what's up, everyone? Actually, Cinnamon Stick on a Charger, wide body. For whatever reason, I guess they're all, anyway, Cinnamon Stick looks so good on the Chargers. Oh, Scott's saying that the start-stop is for fuel economy. It is, but in this case, this is a weird neutral shift. And again, and the funny thing about it is that start-stop doesn't activate until one of several things happen. You either take your foot off the brake, in which case the truck shifts into first gear and start-stop activates at the same time. You put the truck into reverse or park, which will also start the truck back up if you don't have the start-stop disabled. I do have it disabled in the tune, and it's absolutely the best thing ever. Now, I will say this. I like having the option of having start-stop, and I really like having an e-torque feature on the truck. It seems to run great with the e-torque. I like the regenerative braking because that saves in brakes. I can tell you that the truck has zero brake dust after almost 4,400 miles on it. So I really like it for that effect. So if for no other reason to get an e-torque, get it just because it saves you in braking. Excuse me. Katie's asking, what color would I get out of all the colors that they have? If I were to get a new car, because of some sentimental reasons for a friend of mine that passed away, I would absolutely get a Frostbite something. Go man go, howdy be. Gary Payne saying Cinnamon Stick. That would be if I got if I chose a Charger, I would be hard pressed not to get Cinnamon Stick. Jeremy did not want the black, wanted the Plum Crazy, but got black. I like Plum Crazy. Plum Crazy is kind of a love it or hate it kind of color. I like it on Challengers. I like it on Challengers. Scott is saying problem solved. Go manual. They don't have manual trucks. Ardell saying Hellcat wide body for sure. Good looking car. Loving it. Oh, Chuck saying, I think a blacked out hood with hood pins would look badass on my Scat. $900 for the hood, $500 for the pin. Oh, because they're the twist lock. Yeah, that does look really good on that color, by the way. Marco's asking, what do you think about a 2022 Rebel? They're neat trucks. Rebels come with 392 gears. They're a freaking good. I almost bought one. So for you guys, I didn't really talk about this too much. So it was a black Rebel that was on the lot and had the dealer wanted. It was just more of a passing fancy. It was a nice truck. And if the dealership would have played with me a little bit on numbers, I probably would have worked a deal on it. But they didn't want to mess around with it, but it was a black Rebel and it was a good looking truck. So I like them. I like them a lot. Ardell saying he gets a whole bunch of compliments on the Cinnamon Stick. If you haven't seen Cinnamon Stick in color, guys, it is a freaking phenomenal looking truck. Just talking about the trucks. Phenomenal looking car. Kenny's liking the green colors. Yep. Marco's saying, bye-bye, Red Eye and Frontier. He said he didn't like the Red Eye that much. I understand that. Chuck's saying the Rebels are cool and look sweet. Yeah, they are. I like them. I think, like I said, I think they're a great looking truck. And I mean, it doesn't take much, a solid tune and they run great. Jeremy's asking what I think of the 5.7 with the performance handling package. They're great. I like 5.7s in anything. I mean, in terms of, I'll put it to like this: the 5.7 is what got me into, or back, I should say, into Dodge, mainly with the trucks. But okay, so let's rewind a minute. Let me give you guys a real quick rundown of the first two Challengers that I ever drove. I was living in Austin at the time, and there was a Dodge dealership in Austin, and I wanted to drive an automatic and a manual version of this new Challenger. This is back in 2014. 2014. And I hadn't, it was in, 2013. And so the very first one that I ever drove was a candy striped Signature Series 5.7 Challenger. For you guys that aren't familiar with that, it's a white Challenger with the red livery going down the side. And candy stripe would be, it looks like the peppermint candy. It also references nurses back in the day, the volunteer candy stripers. So, which is funny because not my favorite, but the cars that kind of have a soft spot in my heart, the two of them are candy stripe cars. One of them is a 14 SRT that I wish never left the shop. I love that car. I told the guy if he ever wanted to sell it, I would buy it. No questions asked. It was the 2014 392 car that we put the D1 Pro Charger on. Manual, by the way, car. Anyway, the 2013, obviously NAG 1 car. And I freaking loved it. Now, at this point in time, get a load of this. So I have my Lightning, and I had spent the better part of, 3 months just nitpicking the tune on this Lightning, primarily in the trans tune. And I drove this Signature Series Challenger. Candy strike, I can close my eyes and smell it. Sunroof car, by the way, I think. Anyway, drove the car, absolutely fell in love with the trans tune immediately. I was like, good God. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I moved away from the Lightning completely. So the newer stuff, it was as good as my tuned transmissions. So the next Challenger that I drove was the Challenger that was sitting, 2 or 4 cars down from that one, which was a black 20-inch wheel car, black with black interior, 6-speed car. And like the 6-speed car a lot, especially because it would rip second gear. But I like the candy stripe car more because the automatic, the tune on it was so good. So anyway, fun facts. It was the 5.7 Challenger that really woke me up and got me into them. So, and for anybody, that's one of the things that kind of blows my mind. For anybody that's dogging the 5.7, it looks like I'm missing part of my head. For anybody that's dogging the 5.7, that's the car that got me into this, man. That's the car that really reignited my love for all things that are Mopar. And really haven't really looked that far back ever since. Candy's saying he got green go because nobody has it. I would not get basic colors like black, white, gray, or blue. Other colors, only colors he likes, green go, plum crazy, or go mango. Those are all good looking colors. The go mango is a good looking color. I never thought I would really like Go Mango until I saw one in person. It's been years ago. And I was like, damn, that's a good looking car in that color. And so again, it's just, you don't know until you experience it for yourself. And I just never did see a color and a Challenger in any color I didn't like. Jeremy said, he found, looks like Jeremy found a 5.7 Performance for $48K. Check it out. See if you drive it. See if you like it. Ardell saying he likes the Rebels. I do too. Marco's saying I love 5.7 better than 6.2 and 6.4. It's funny. You're not in a small pool, by the way. I can tell you this. There's a lot of folks that will agree with you even though they're looking up at a 6.4, by the way, it's not all about the fast. And the weird thing about the 6.4 versus 5.7 whole deal is that people forget that it's not that hard to run 12s with a 5.7. And a 6.4 is a 12-second car. Well, the thing is that even a 13-second car, which the 5.7 clearly is still a fast-ass car. You know, it blows my mind how anybody, well, I understand why, okay? Don't get it twisted. I understand why, but because the modern era and everything runs 11s or at least low 12s, right? But the 5.7 can scoot. It's fun. It sounds amazing. Easily one of the best sounding cars out there. It doesn't break the bank, and you can play with it and have fun with it. I'm telling you guys, I'm having more fun with Stormy, for example. It's 5.7. Having more fun with Stormy and challenging myself with Stormy to make this 13-second daily driver type truck with all the full weight as it came from the factory, with the spare tire and all of that stuff. So right now I'm scooting around with the truck with no spare tire. The funny thing about it is that without the 60 pounds in the truck, it'll mile an hour a little bit better, but it certainly doesn't like to hook. It's harder to get the truck to hook without the weight in the back. And so it basically runs the same ET with or without that extra weight. So in other words, I'm having a lot of fun with 5.7s. I've never not have fun with 5.7s, and I've never expected anything out of 5.7. And that's the other side. The other plus of being a 5.7 fan is that it's a 5.7. You know, if you want to play with the stuff that's running really fast, like honest to God fast, what are you going to get? A 6.4? Well, then you'll wish you had a Hellcat. A Hellcat? Well, then you're going to need pulleys to keep up, right? I mean, this is how that progression progresses. So with a 5.7, you can just go, I just go do burnouts and it goes as fast as you want it to go. Sounds amazing. Have fun with it. So I'm a big fan of all of them, guys. Our folks saying, hey, gang, hey, Mason, hope everyone's doing well tonight. Same to you. Just wondering if all I want to do is disable MDS without using sport or manual mode in my 5.7. Is there an easy method for that? The only way you can do it is with a tune to make it a global disable. So with that being said, you know, obviously that opens up a complete can of worms. We can talk about warranty and things like that, but the reality is, nope, sport or manual is the easy way, unfortunately, to do that. It's kind of like me having to press the tow haul button on the truck. By the way, in the tune, in data logging, tow haul button is sport. So, and it acts like it too. Come and get you. X saying, what up, Professor B? What up, X? Oh, Chuck saying he drove a 5.7 shaker for a few years, but I craved the 392 just like a junkie craves crack. When the scat seduced me, I was done. And that's the thing. Listen, okay. Oh, that was the point I was trying to get to. The 5.7 is awesome. Please keep in mind that the 5.7 is just as fast. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's every bit as quick as a 6.1 with a nag 1. It's all but there. And keep in mind that 6.1 with a nag 1 was top of the food chain for a little bit of time there, guys. I mean, that was the SRT, 6.1 liter. That was the top of the food chain until the 6.4 liter came out. Now, with that being said, the 6.4 with an 8-speed is a completely different animal when you drive it. So the smart money goes, look, just don't drive one. If you drive a 5.7 and don't ever drive a 6.4, you'll never want a 6.4. You'll know that there's something out there faster, but you just won't know. So ignorance is bliss in that respect. and eventually you'll end up driving a 6.4, and then, you know, that's like being told that Santa Claus isn't real, but you get the idea. Scott saying, my kid has a 2016 5.7 Auto RT with exhaust work and maybe a tune. I've got a 2012 Challenger SRT8 with long tubes, not tuned yet. How close do you think they'll be in the 8th? You better not sleep on the tree, my friend, because that 5.7 is going to give that SRT8 all it can manage. Especially if you are running on stock tires, because you will have a slight issue with traction where he won't, or when he won't. That's going to be a fun ass race, though. You'll run him down, but it'll be a fun ass race. Ardell saying, I love the 5.7. Chuck saying, I had a blast in my Touareg 5.7. Absolutely. Kenny's asking, is the Rebel an appearance package or is it faster than 5.7? It is an appearance package primarily. No upgrades in engine or anything like that. All of them have 3.92 rear gear ratios. 17, I think they're 17-inch wheels with all-terrain tires. Oh, Jeremy's saying Dodge messed up on the 5.7 by not giving it the 6.4 intake from the factory. I'm still kind of odded out by that, to be honest with you. It makes no sense to not put that intake manifold on the 5.7, to be honest with you. I mean, so here's the, well, they did, but they screwed up. And to be honest with you, there's probably a 15 or 20 horsepower gain once you were to apply a tune and tune the SRT. Well, I'll tell you exactly how much it is. It's about 20 horsepower, because that's basically the difference between a 5.7 car engine and a 5.7 truck. So, you know, you're going from 375 to 395. So, you know, what gives, right? You're right about that. I've never understood why they didn't do that. I mean, you would think that it'd just be that easy. I mean, they got the intake manifold sitting right there, and it's not like they can't, you know, it's not like the wiring harness won't fit in the car. So weird. I will say this, though. Everything that I've ever seen on the 5.7 fixed intakes, and the Durangos have the 5.7 fixed intakes also, by the way. But everything I've seen on that intake, it basically is a plastic version of the 6.1 intake in terms of how well it flows, but not near as good looking. Let's see. Greg saying Dodge said the SRT was disbanded, yet the new cars still wear the SRT badge. I know, right? And the EV has SRT in the name. What gives? They're just not going to let it go because it's a marketing nomenclature. But yeah, I'm the same way with you. I mean, there's a lot of things that Dodge has said that they were going to do or that were going to happen that ended up not or didn't happen doing. Unique one saying, first time here, what's this about? Mopar Chat Live. So it's a live show that I do usually twice a week. Pretty much every week, at least once a week, on either Tuesdays and Saturdays or on Saturdays. And we chat about all things Mopar. A lot of different car topics will come up. Never really know what's going to pop up. Open chat means that I don't have a monologue. A lot of times with these chats, what I'll do is I'll have a monologue kind of geared up. I'll start running my mouth, usually for anywhere from 5 to a whole 2 hours. The show usually lasts between an hour and 2 hours. And I just get up here and talk a lot about different Mopar things. I've got a lot of experience working on these things, tuning them as well. Worked for a very reputable shop at one point and still am very tied into with it. So all kinds of fun and unique things. If you got a Dodge and you got a question, let me know. We got a very diverse group of like-minded individuals that like to hang out and chat about this. And if you work long, boring, drudgery type jobs, this is the perfect background noise generator for you. And if you've got insomnia, in many cases, it's the sure cure for that too. So thank you for thank you for coming on. I'm happy to have you, Unique. He's got an 05 Dodge Magnum with a 5.7 RT. Nice. Oh, Mopar's hanging out with Jeremy. Arfo's saying those sirens Just now are exactly why I know my place with a 5.7. If I did the same thing in a scatter a cat, I know what I would do in the 5.7. Those reds and blues would be out for me. Hey, listen, you can go get from zero to jail real quick with a 5.7. Oh, Jeremy's asking if I know the flow data on the 5.7 head, and I noticed the spring diameter on the 6.4 lists is larger. Yeah, kind of weird when it comes to that, because you can run PSI 15, 16 springs on any of the heads. It's the install height is going to be a little bit different. But yes, the flow number. So Eagle heads, this includes I'm sorry, not Eagle, Apache heads. Ooh, is that a skeeter? No, it's a moth. Apache heads are the earlier heads. This would be the 6.1 and the non-MDS 5.7 heads. To give you an idea, if memory serves me correctly, the 6.1s will flow somewhere around 250, 260-ish, depending on the flow bench. The 5.7s aren't that far behind. They're really close to those numbers too. Close enough to where it really doesn't make much of a difference. The Eagle heads, which are the later MDS heads, basically any of the 5.7s built after 2010 and any of the big displacement, the 6.4s and the 6.2s built after 2012. Obviously 6.2 would be in 15, technically 14 though. Anyway, those flow anywhere between 310 and 330 CFM on a flow bench. So quite a bit of difference in actual flow between the older version generation and the newer. Now, don't get caught up in flow numbers though, because the 250, 260 range flow, it's not necessarily a bad place to be. And it offers you some cushion, if you will, where you won't have that cushion with the big flow number heads. Higher velocity through the older heads means you can run a more aggressive cam profile, and you can make pretty decent power with those heads. I mean, you got to remember they're flowing about the same for the same era of LS head that they would go up. It's actually a little bit more. So you're looking good there. Intake manifolds will flow just fine. So it's not that hard to build. If you're talking, flywheel dynos here, 400 horsepower version of those engines, they were all rated at 345. So, well, obviously the 6.1 was 4.25, but all the 5.7s were 345. And so you can kind of see where a different camshaft, even a mild camshaft, and the stock intake, even not even cleaning it up, would be a pretty decent running combination. And it would be fun, and it would sound good, and it would do all of that. The thing is, it just cannot match the power potential of the later engines. Between 310 and 330 CFM, there is so much overhead there. You can make a ton of power with hardly any camshaft. The intake manifold is made to look like a hero by those heads. So that's mainly the difference there. The later heads are just bonkers with how much power they can make. But hopefully that answers your question. Kenny's asking, is the new Rebel a TRX wannabe? Actually, the TRX is like a Rebel on steroids, because the Rebel actually came before the TRX. Jeremy's saying they put it on the trucks. Oh, you're talking about the heads? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that the between the flow data and the spring pack, I mean, we didn't never use a different spring pack for the heads. Well, almost everything we did was eagle headed though, so that kind of tells you something. Jason is saying, do you think a 6.4 stock intake manifold will outflow a ported 5.7? Oh, yeah, for sure. Trying to decide which route to go. If you've got the ability and the budget to run with a 6.4 intake manifold, if you went in and cleaned it up a little bit, okay, let me let me just kind of go this way with you. The 6.4 intake with a controller for the SRV, the short runner valve, if you have that in place, that is superior to the 5.7 stock manifold, because you get the best of both worlds. It's like having, if you're familiar with carburetors, it's like having a dual plane that morphs into a single plane on the big end. That's why those things can just drag power up with them, where the 5.7 can't. Here's a good example of that, by the way, the truck intake, which is about as, I mean, it looks, if it weren't for the 90-degree bend in it, it would look like a 5.7 intake, honestly. But the truck intake makes peak power in the truck configuration at 5,600 RPM. And that power comes in, from your point of view, the power comes in, but it flattens out because it's run out of camshaft, but it's got plenty of cylinder head and plenty of intake manifold. And so that power flattens out at 5,600 RPM. You get over rev with that, but you're hemorrhaging torque. So it does absolutely no good to spin it past that number with the stock cam. Now, the stock intake manifold on the non-SRV manifold on the 5.7 is showing to make peak power at around 5,200 RPM. And it carries that power pretty well, but it's got a nice mid-range bump in it. Where the truck manifold it makes a lot of torque up top and just keeps carrying the torque over because of the short runner. So there is some validity to say that the 6.4 would make more power just because it has that short runner valve in it. If you are not going to run the SRV, though, I wouldn't bother with the 6.4. I would stick with the 5.7 and just have it cleaned up. Maybe just check the throat of it, because that throat, actually, from your point of view, it tapers in. Just check that. Make sure that there's no interference between that throat and the throttle body. Maybe open up the first, almost like throttle body match it for about the first 3 inches or so. Keeping in mind, I've ported so many of those things, I could literally do it in my sleep. But that will help. Make sure there's no casting flash in it. Just take out the casting flash and you'll be good to go. And again, I mean, you would absolutely need to be able to adjust SRV, though, for the 6.4 to make any sense. Unique saying, I'm planning to get a Hellcat supercharger with adapter for the 5.7. A lot of guys are starting to go that route. Oh, you're saying, you're looking to get a Whipple? Whipple's, I would probably go Whipple if it were me, only because they've got ready to go kits. Also, don't sleep on the E-Force. That's a Maggie compressor, and it does a really good job too. That Magnuson compressor has made a bunch of power for a lot of guys. Oh, Marco's saying Rebel does not have one wheel peel. No, it does not. They all come 392 with no slip, which you kind of need for a Rebel. You need the 392 gear for that truck. Katie's asking, is the SRT Challenger that you used to have faster than a Scat Pack Challenger because they both have the same engine and horsepower? Technically, it would have actually been a tad slower than a comparable Scat Pack due to weight more than anything. The SRT has the Hellcat brakes, which are heavy, to say the least. Tad saying, supposedly Dodge released more info on the stage kits. What's going on with them? Last I heard of, they're still trying to get EO numbers for all their supercharged platform add-on kits. Like you can get a tune, you can get a pulley, you can get this, that. I haven't heard of any of them covering an EO yet. And that executive order number is what you need to be, that's what you need to be EPA compliant. So I just haven't heard of them clearing it yet. And I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know if they're going to be 49 state cars or if they're going to be 50. I have no idea. That's the other thing. because I don't know that they can get them 50 state approved. They might be able to get them 49 state, but they might not be able to get them 50 state approved because it won't pass CARB. California Air Resource Board. Chuck saying, be careful of the Supra. I beat one recently, but if I let off the throttle at all, it was right on my ass. Toasted him through the quarter mile with my 392 by a car length. Nice. And yes, don't sleep on the Supra. I have had a little bit of a crush on that chubby little thing for a while. And I don't know, man. It's just something about the Supra, the way it looks. I just really like that thing. Unique saying, with me planning to get the Whipple supercharger, what do you think I should upgrade? Not racing on the street, but do show off and jump on it. What are your thoughts on upgrades? Well, I start off with, let's see. I'd probably go, I'm guessing you're a 5.7, I think. Is that correct? Yeah. So what I would get is, first of all, long tube headers and metal substrate high flow catalytic converters. If you can do that, that's going to help a little bit with making sure that the whole system is more efficient. The stock manifolds aren't all that good on 5.7s. It's another thing that kind of was always weird. They didn't give them the 392 manifolds. Anyway, go that route. The supercharger itself, there's really nothing you need to do. If you're running low boost, 7-8 pounds of boost, you just want the noise and you want to have something that is pretty fast and makes basically 392 power with a little bit more torque at tip in. That's what you're going to get with that setup. So factor on somewhere around 430-ish horsepower to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno. That'll put you like 460, 470 to the rear wheels on a dyno jet, depending on the dyno jet. I can tell you that I've driven cars with similar setups. The one that I liked was the E-Force. That's the one that I drove. It's a real clean looking installation. Comes with a tune that is just fine. Tuned outside of the E-Force stock tune, you can get a little bit more power out of them, but which is what we did. I think stock, that thing put down 405. It was basically right out what a stock Hellcat, what a stock Scat Pack puts to the ground. No real reason to upgrade much of anything past that. I mean, it's going to come with injectors, probably something to do with the fuel pump. They may throw a booster pump in there just for good measure, although I'm not a huge fan of booster pumps, but it'll come with a lot of the stuff that you'll need to get it done and get it done right. Highly suggest finding a shop that speaks fluent Mopar to have that installed on your vehicle, by the way. By the way, speaking of by the ways, pin your crank. I would certainly advocate for that. So if you're not, if it doesn't come with a pin for the crank for the balancer, I would certainly look into that as well. Chuck's saying stock for stock with his run against that Supra. They run good. Charlie's saying he's got a 2007 Charger RT and just purchased a used 2.4 Hellcat supercharger with ID 1000 fuel injectors. You guys, I know he's saying, I know I need the MMX adapter kit, but would like to hear your thoughts on how to go about it. That's a long chat right there. So there are, I think, HHP, MMX, and is there another company sell full swap kits to run the 2.4 supercharger on the 5.7. I've never messed with it. I typically defaulted or had guys that had already showed up with Whipples or Maggies on the 5.7. But with time passing and more guys having access to the 2.4 Hellcat supercharger, that necessitated a lot of guys to want to go that route. There are companies that have a protocol for this supercharger on 5.7s. I know Josh over at HHP does. And I know Alex over at Pites, I think, has messed with a few of these. I don't remember any coming through the shop, but I think he's done a few remote tunes with him. Main thing when it comes to these types of kits, though, Fuel system, I would maybe make a case that maybe a twin pump setup might be a good idea. Although, again, there are guys that have their own protocols when it comes to these kits. I prefer to see if Injected Engineering makes a twin pump setup. I would probably go that route. I don't think you need a 4 kit or anything like that for this. Now, all that being said, stick with the recipe that you're given. Don't try to mix and match. Don't try to over-engineer this. It's not like you're going to be making a ton of boost. On a 5.7, it'll still make, with the stock pulley ratios, somewhere around 12 pounds of boost. That's not unheard of for the street, but keep your timing low. Don't get greedy with boost when it comes to one of these things. The 5.7 will handle the blower. It's not the problem. The problem is fuel quality. What happens a lot of times with this particular setup is that that's a healthy supercharger on a somewhat smaller engine. And what you can wind up with is an engine that is a little bit more sensitive to fuel quality because it's going to have a little bit more fuel, or rather a little bit more boost than a Hellcat. And so fueling is going to be a lot more important. ID1000s are a little bit overkill, by the way, for this setup, but there's nothing wrong with them in this combination. They'll be perfectly streetable and you don't have to worry about that. So with all of that being said, again, I would want to go soup to nuts with one shop. Yeah, if you're asking my thoughts on how to go about doing it, I would go soup to nuts with one shop, get all of the hardware for one shop. If you're not sending the car anywhere for the build, make sure that you get everything from the shop that is going to be needed to install, that they have tried and tested, and then use that shop for your remote tuning. I would not do it any other way. And the reason why I would not do it any other way is because I was with Pikes, and this is just not trying to, throw out my rotator by patting ourselves on the back, but we would fix a lot of situations where guys had a build here and a tune there and an install somewhere else with another set of parts. And, you get guys bouncing around from shop to shop to shop. And the problem with that is just make sure you go to the right type of shop. Make sure you're going to the right place to get these parts. And again, Josh over at HHP, really good people, and he knows his stuff inside and out. There's very few shops that I would trust with my car or with my truck, and HHP is 100% one of them. So just something to consider. Ardell saying, thanks for the FYI on the Super. You rocked his ass. Very nice job, sir. But hopefully that helps you out. I know that's kind of a bit of a vague answer. But again, some things that you're really going to want to consider is, again, don't get greedy, pin the crank, stick with the same shop, have them do the remote tuning, or chances are they've got a protocol in it with an OS for your car that'll work just fine. Be real about the fuel quality, though, and understand that you are now fuel quality limited, not boost limited. So throwing a bunch more fuel at that car isn't really going to make much of a difference if the fuel quality isn't there. So just word to the wise. I'm working through that right now, and it's at this time of year is tough with the fuel quality. Unique saying the Whipple is an instant 230 horsepower. Oh yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. You can absolutely get quite a bit of power out of the Whipples just like that. Chuck saying the Whipple 3.0 is sick. Whipple 3.0 is the sickness right now. Anthony's saying, can you drive a Scat Pack 1320 daily? Sure you can. Will the adaptive suspension age well or break with time? I haven't heard of anybody wearing out the adaptive suspension at all. I mean, the Hellcats have been running around with adaptive or at least active adjustable suspension, and nobody's had any issues with them that I'm aware of. I can tell you that it is very reminiscent of the Mercedes W211 adjustable / adaptive suspension, and those things were pretty good. They weren't bomb proof, but they were at least still pretty good as far as durability goes. Unique One saying 3.0 is the new one. So should I get Whipple 3.0, not Hellcat Whipple? No, do not get the 3.0. It is not appropriate for your application. 3.0 is a 14 to 1600 horsepower compressor. You really don't need that at all. That's why I was saying, if you want a clean, and I mean a clean ass supercharger, look at the E-Force. I know Whip is badass too, but check out the E-Force because it is everything you need in a box. And they make really good power. Oh, Gary's hanging out with Anthony. Oh, Gary saying, check out Scavenger 1320. Bro, Scavenger 1320 drove his car to Houston for a track rental with the only thing I think that was in the car when he went down the drag strip was him and a steering wheel and a chair. My boy knows how to do some race prep. But yeah, you can absolutely drive a 1320 wherever you want. That's part of the neat part about a 1320 is you can just drive it wherever you want. And it's really reliable. Ardell saying I smoked a C8 Corvette about a quarter mile by 1.5 car lengths. Good job, my man. Oh, this is funny. I just got a post. I just got a notification from myself that I am live right now. So now I know what it looks like when you guys get the things. I've got 2 different email addresses, and one of them I subscribe to myself because, damn, how can you have a channel and not subscribe to yourself? It's like running for office and not voting. Jeremy saying I got a 16 RT57, thinking a 228, 234. That's a little bit much for a 5.7. On a 112 or 113 with a Holley Stealth Ram intake, Hellcat throttle body, it's a 6-speed 390. Try to lose about 300 pounds. You can lose the 300 pounds. That's definitely good. If you're going Stealth Ram, here's the thing. So if you're going to go Stealth Ram with that, obviously the spring pack is going to be real important because 228, 234 on a 112 or 113, you're running a 16, which is good. That means your intake center line is going to be somewhere in the 108 range, 109 more than likely, which is going to put you 3 degrees advanced. But I will tell you that your cam grinder is probably going to grind it on a 110 or a 111 intake center line. So if he does that, you would absolutely have to have it on a 112. I wouldn't even go to 113 on a 5.7. I've done it, but I just would choose not to. About as far back as I like to rock a cam is on a 109. Intake center line, 112 will work, but 228's heavy. I would probably stay somewhere in the 222 range, at the most, on the intake, and probably 232, 230 on the exhaust. Here's the thing, though, that Stealth Ram is going to throw all your power to the right side of the chart, which means it's going to lose a ton of torque down low. I have driven cars, 5.7s as a matter of fact, with similar grind cams, except these had a wider lobe set, which did the car absolutely no favors. And it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And it's kind of like it's like, what happened to all my torque? And is this thing really making horsepower? So keep that lobe set as tight as you can. But I would probably chill out a little bit on the intake duration, mainly because with that Stealth Ram, it's going to try to make peak power at about 7,000 RPM, give or take. Even with a 112, it's going to be like 6,800-ish, 6,600 at the lowest, I would think, with that setup. Those heads are going to want to flow their asses off. Keep in mind, this thing's going to make a lot of power. It's going to run good. But if you're looking for something streetable, I'd keep the stock intake and drag the numbers down a little bit. If you're in other words, keep with that 222, 230-ish range looking cam on a 113 is a real popular one on a 108. But if you really want to leg the thing out, go that route. Just remember, PSI 15, 16s are where you're going to have to be on springs. And I like to set them up with, or I always request, I should say, that they're set up because those have a 180 installed height. So you're going to have to shim them. but I would always suggest something around, 405 open. I think I spec them at 405 open and, around 150 closed. That usually gets the job done for you. Kenny's saying, let me know next time you get to McAllen. I can meet you so you can see my green go. I will let you know. I don't have any trips planned for McAllen anytime soon, though. But if I do, I will let you know. I always try to get out of town. I just cannot. Schedule is not allowing me to get down there right now. But I do love McAllen. Love the Valley. Unique saying, I live in California, but planning to move to Kingman, Arizona. Very nice. Oh, he's saying he's planning to get JBA shorties. JBA shorties work good. Rowboat saying, hey, B, you currently have more viewers on your live chat than Richard Rawlings does on his. Yeah. That's a win in my book. Dan saying, wondered how fast you think the 5th gen Viper would have been in the quarter if they would have offered HP 90. Man, okay, so man after my own heart. So you guys know that I'm a 3-time recovering Viper owner. I can tell you the 5th gen would have been disturbingly fast with an HP 90 in it. It would have easily been I'll put it to you like this. My heads cam, kind of a mild setup with long tubes, ACR. This is a Gen 2 though. I could row that thing to a 1054. It had what I put in there, 354 gears. And it was actually safer to drive with the 354s for a number of reasons. But I could row that thing to a 1050 all day long. If it had an HP 90 in it, that car would have easily been a low 10, high 9 second car. No doubt about it. It all would have been in the 60 foot. Although my 60 foots weren't all that bad. I just you had to launch it at 5,500 RPM. Zephyr saying, what up, Professor? How's it been, stranger? Zephyr's been out for a while. My man breaking down knowledge on his R&D stuff. Got me schooled up with some knowledge on how the question was, how much of residual 87 octane is in the hose, the handle, and everything else if you go to pump 93 octane into your tank. A man schooled us up. What was it, like just a little bit less than a gallon or something like that? Kenny's asking, is my Hellcat faster than a Demon? Kind of. Depends on how you look at it, because I am not running race gas. And so therefore I'm not running a race gas tune in my car. But what I can tell you is this: 93 octane for 93 octane, I have beaten Red Eyes and Demons in my car. I have run a better ET and I have run a better mile per hour than those cars. I have never raced anybody side by side on 93 octane that beat me in a heads up race with a Demon on 93 octane. And that's tire for tire. Now, I will say that I have to catch them on the back half of the track and reel them in. And when I say I am quicker, it is by the slimmest of margins. It's not like I'm just running away from them and, chunk and deuce. It ain't like that. I am usually a tenth at most quicker, and I am running them down. So I have to get around them on the big end. And usually at the end, it's about like this. I'm just the other side of their fender with my fender. That's for the 309 geared Red Eyes and for the Demons. They're the exact same car in the respect of the operating systems and engine for that matter. So hopefully that answers that question. Jeremy's asking, would a Hellcat pump work on a 5.7 and keep it happy? It would. The only problem is that the hookups for the fuel lines are different sizes. I don't know what Slicey's asking. What do I pump these days? Diesel or unleaded? I don't know. I don't know which old timer he's talking to. I'm sure I am one of the ones that he's talking to. All of mine are currently unleaded, though. Not currently rocking any diesels. Oh, Unique saying yes. Oh, he's saying, oh, Unique saying that we moving to Kingman. A lot of good people in Vegas. There's some shops in Vegas. I'm sure they can get you taken care of. So you're saying when you launch the car at the drag strip, what setting do you have your suspension on, and does it really make a difference? Great question. So here's the thing. I have the suspension in street. I have the transmission in sport. Actually, everything else is in sport with traction control completely off. Does it make a difference? Well, I don't think that it does. I think that sport would be equally as good, but it depends on the track. If you have a track that is dead hooking, then I don't think you would see a difference running it in sport versus street. I like the softer setting in street, and so I'll typically will go that route just because it gives me a little bit more weight transfer on the back, which helps the car hook a little bit. And I can run a little bit more. I can be confident in running a little bit more tire pressure in the rear when I'm running it in street. That helps it mile an hour, even if by the tiniest of margins on the back half of the track. Radials, you really don't need to air them down too much. By the way, guys, remember, if you're running DBRs or ET Street Rs, there's no need to go below 18 or 19 PSI. I see guys running these things that looks like they're practically flat. Don't do that. Also, if you're running SRs, for the front, I run my SRs at about 75-ish PSI. I see a lot of guys running out there with SRs. Those things look like they're flat, and it's because they're designed to run at significantly higher pressures. So hang on just a second. Taking care of something real quick, gents. All right. All right. Bear with me, gentlemen. Let's see. Hang on just a second, guys. Interesting. Taking care of a little housekeeping here. Let's see. Yeah, there's some real fucking pieces of shit in this world. So we just got through taking care of that real quick. Sorry, guys, that will happen from time to time. It is a live show, and this is the internet, so you never really know who's going to show up. Usually it's bots that'll do that. Most of the time it's porn bots, so I do apologize for that, guys. Let's see. Chuck saying, B, your numbers have improved on Stormy at the track. I was liking it when you broke the 13. So, interesting thing about that. So, the 13-second blast was made in pretty decent DA. And strange thing about it is that we haven't had DA like that again. And I have been playing around with, I'm like messing with these laptops. I have been playing around with the Trans-Tune a little bit, but the truck's running great. So I appreciate that. The funny thing about Stormy, you know, and again, guys, this gets back into the 5.7 thing and, you know, breaking down the whole what is fast and what is fun. You know, I'm having so much fun with Stormy, way more fun than I should be. First of all, let me just tell you this. I got Stormy as a replacement for Buffy. I didn't think I was going to really, I mean, it's a truck for me. I didn't think I would have feelings for this thing. And out of nowhere, I ended up really liking this truck. Well, apparently for a pickup truck, Stormy's actually got some chops because she's been laying it on some folks here lately. So, I mean, everybody knows what it runs. It's a 14 teen truck right now in what is in essence 1,500 or 1,800 DA if it hooks at the track, which is the big question mark. But on the street, she hooks fine. And she's running some pretty decent numbers. And dang, if that thing just isn't out there, she's doing some work right now. So anyway, I'm having a ball with that truck. And it's another reason why I keep saying, listen, you can have so much and even more fun with 5.7s if you have the opportunity. So, but thank you, Chuck, saying we have another troll, guys. Yeah, and guys, mods, remember, you can get in there and delete and, you know, stop folks dead in their tracks too. So if you see something, because keep in mind, I run significantly behind you guys. So as moderators, if you see something, jerk that immediately. You have the power. Jason's asking, what should I be looking for as far as numbers and specs when trying to choose the right cam for my 2017 Charger 5.7? Trying to be full bolt-on in a cam, not sure about durations and load numbers to look for. Man, listen, you'll live longer for not knowing. Trust me. I put so many cams together for different shops and for different applications. Y'all know that I did Demonology's cam. I mean, there's just so many different things that you're looking for when it comes to camshafts that you don't need to be looking for. So for a 5.7, for something that's going to sound good, something that's going to run good, I don't like to see duration numbers more than about 220 to 222. And really, that's the sweet spot, whether it's a 6.4 or a 5.7, that is kind of a bit of a sweet spot in terms of duration for a street-driven Hemi. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive in the 5.7. It'll be less aggressive in the 392, but it will be making power literally everywhere. In fact, the cam that I'm going to spec here for you is going to make a 392 act like it's 427 cubic inches. It just makes literally more power everywhere all the time. But anyway, getting back to it, a 220, 226, 220, 228 cam. So it's 220 on the intake side, 228 on the exhaust. You can go 222 on the intake side. 228 is also kind of a cherry little cam. So those would be your duration numbers. Lobe separation numbers, for most street cars, I say 113 to 114. You're going to lose a little bit of mid-range with that, but it helps carry the power better up top, and it helps kind of mask some of the intake manifolds tendencies to try to lay over a little bit, even with the 6.4 intake. But I like a little bit wider LSA on the 5.7 because you can get away with it. You got a lot of head flow and a really good intake manifold. Even the stock one's really good in this case. And really that stock intake manifold with a cam works beautifully because it's a little bit more traditional in the power delivery, and it's going to act like it's going to act basically like an LS3 in a lot of ways, just a little bit smaller in essence. But you just don't need as much cam because you got a really good set of flowing heads. Intake center line on that, I would probably say I wouldn't want to see any more than about 108 or 109 degrees. Lift does not matter. So you could go 584, 594 on the intake side, 584 on the exhaust, and be fine. You do not need a 600 lift cam at all. And And that would put you where you need to be. PSI 1515 springs would be fine with that, with a set of 080 push rods. Letter E. Be a fun cam for sure. Candy's saying Trackhawk should have been called a Track Cat. Yeah, I don't know where the hawk thing came from with that. Oh, Patrick's asking if we know of anything coming to SEMA. Perform. Jeep is going to be bringing all their Jeep creatures, all the different things they can do with, you can add this to your Jeep or that to your Jeep. So Direct Connection is supposed to have more of a presence at SEMA this year. We'll see what that ends up actually looking like. The hardware is in good shape. It's just the software that they've got to get, the tuning aspect of it that they got to get sorted out. So yeah, there's that. But nothing in terms of new stuff. I can tell you that. Scott's asking, what are my average 60-foot times with a stock, obviously with stock pulley and Revlon? So right now in this weather, 155 is, it's going to run that number every single time in this DA. The lower the DA. So, for a 15 to 1800, it'll run a 155. For 1,000 foot, it'll run a 151. 150, 152, right in that range. 500 feet, it'll run a 146, give or take. 0 DA, it'll run a 500 feet, it'll run a 149. 0 DA, it'll run a 147 or 8. 7 if it really hooks and I'm shallow staging, but 148 pretty much there. Anything deeper than that, it'll probably get a 147, but that'll put you right in the range of where it's going to 60 foot. And that gives you DAs to compare your car to as well. Unique's asking about a V16. I haven't seen V16s in forever. Oh, they put it in the boat. That V16, that's an LS V16. Jake's asking, you located in Texas? Yes. Have a shop. I asked because I'm in Texas too and would love to hand my car over to you and get it where I want it and lead me in the right direction. 2017 Charger 5.7. So I do not have a shop that I work on anybody else's, like for the general public. I would suggest if you're in Texas, get your car over to Pites Performance. Pites is in... it's off of 249. I guess it's still Cypress. Is it Cypress still? I guess it's still Cypress. They moved. But get over to Pites. It's PEITZ. And that's who I used to work for. And that is 100% who I would suggest to get you sorted out with your ride. Alex is really good people. He's the guy that teaches the people that teach the people how to tune. And he's developed his own software for the Corvettes. Bright guy, good guy too. He can get you taken care of. But yeah, I do not do anything for general public, unfortunately. I don't even import manifolds anymore. I got out of doing that just because I just don't really have the time to fool with it. Tad say, hey, my car is 99% a show car. Only time I drive it is to car shows or occasionally through town. Thought about getting aftermarket throttle body like BBK or something. What are your thoughts? Don't waste your money. Not unless you want just the underhood, bling that pop. But unless you're going for that, I really wouldn't worry too much about that. It's not going to help you a ton in terms of power. If you do go that route, I would highly suggest matching the opening to your BBK throttle body. That way you don't end up getting a lip on the backside. I've still got all the stuff that I use to port my manifold literally right there, manifolds in general. Tad said he's got a 2019 392 Daytona. Nice. No, it really won't help you too much. The data that I have on these cars, if it were a 5.7, it absolutely wouldn't help you. The 392, it's not going to help you a ton. I mean, again, and the problem, I don't have a manifold here to show you, but the problem is the throat of the 392 manifold is the restrictive part, not really the throttle body kind of is, but then you really can't open it up that much for the throttle body. So it's kind of a weird deal anyway with that 392 intake manifold. I would have definitely designed that a little bit different. Oh yeah, Unique saying I believe the suspension does help quite a bit. Depends on weather, track, and everything else. It can. I mean, it absolutely can help. If you've got a track that's got somewhat sketch prep, it can definitely help you. Chuck saying heavy steering, hard shifting, louder exhaust note. How can I not love track mode? Exactly. Oh, Jeremy's asking, are you still running the stock rear with a diff brace or the 9-inch replacement? Stock everything back there. Everything's still stock. In fact, the car just ran 2 weeks ago in, what was it, 1,000-foot DA? It actually covered a number I didn't think it was going to cover, a 1032. And I was kind of tripped out about that because the air was just kind of funky that night. It was weird. I was not getting air charge numbers that I would normally get. Everybody was running a little bit slow, and so I let the car cool off. And Orange Crush and I were there. And that's where the video I took of Orange Crush. And it was kind of weird. Both of us were running right there within, because I tuned his car, and his car is basically, it's kind of a clone of mine, although his weighs about 100 pounds more than mine does, even in street trim. Anyway, I ended up running a 1032 that night, and that's with the passenger seat in the car and just the way that I drive the thing around on the street, except I was running the Hoosier DBRs, not the Nitto. I wouldn't run the Tri-5 R2s. I tried running the Tri-5 R2s on that car at the track. I did it once. It dead hooked once. The car went like a 1060, 1050, something like that. Wasn't anything to write home about, and that was the only time I did it, and I was not doing that again. Oh, Candy's asking, can you buff out very minor scratches on a car and get it back to not having a scratch at all? Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, check out my how-to section and you will actually see me. You're going to love this. So, on your jeans, those little rivets, the little snag everything rivets. So I had done that to my car. It was on a bump. I think it was on the driver's side rear bumper or something like that. Anyway, I snagged it. So you can watch me remove the scratch. And I do all of this one-handed with the DA in this hand, and I'm filming like this. So anyway, yes, you 100% can do that. Depends on the scratch, though. Obviously, if you can feel it with your thumbnail, you're always going to see it if it's way through the clear coat. But if it just blemished the clear coat, you can absolutely get that out of there. Done it a ton of times. In fact, I think did a video where I was doing the touch-up paint, doing the wet sanding, and showing you guys that as well. So, you can absolutely do it. I've gotten some pretty hairy stuff out of Revlon too, by the way. And there's some stuff I just flat out couldn't get out. And then there's one spot where I botched up a freaking repair. Hey, man, you can't always knock them out of the park. And I fixed it. You wouldn't ever see it. You wouldn't ever know it, but it's also in that how-to. I'm like, shit, I think I kind of flubbed this a little bit. But it looks way better than it did before I fixed it. So at least there's that. Chuck saying, I reported both trolls. Yeah, I did too. Sam saying, Yo, B, how's it going? Just got my power back last Thursday from Ian. That's good. Glad to hear you getting that back. It's sad I worked shelters and the look of people that left came right back was heartbreaking. I can only imagine. You and I experiencing some of the same stuff. I wasn't working the shelters, but I was assisting with part of the cleanup effort after Harvey, and that was a disaster. I think you guys actually, Ian might have been a little bit worse than Harvey in some areas. We just got flooded like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, hate to hear it, man. Unique saying, I'd like to share this. I'm 52 this year. Congratulations. My dad bought me a 72 Cuda my 8th grade year. It's been parked since a few years back. I need $500 and my dad gave it to me. Oh, nice. Very cool. Now I thought I could buy it back. My dad yells, it's not your car. Nice. Your dad has it now. Good job. Oh, Stuart's asking, do I have a standard way that I go about removing the fuel pressure if you're changing out the injectors? Not really. I usually just make a mess. But what I will typically do, if I'm smart about it, if the fuel rail has a Schrader valve, the way that the new ones do, then you can just, remove it that way. Although an easier way to do it is to remove the fuel pump fuse, and you just go to start the car, let it spin, and then kill it. And just the action of the injectors opening and closing will evacuate any pressure that's residual in that line. And that's, of course, making sure that I remember to do that. And instead, I usually just start getting to work and end up making a mess and go, I should have done this. And then anyway, but that's how I would normally do it, is just remove the fuse. Or if it's got a Schrader valve and you're already working on something in there, that's another way you can do it. Unique saying, his dad got him. Yeah, he did. Behemoth saying, what's up, my brother? Saying, hey, buddy, I'm in, and Blackie is getting the snails this weekend. Nice. Send pics, bro. I want to check that out. Chuck's asking, hey, B, should I get a diff brace? I don't light them up much. Not really. I don't really think it. You're not taking the car to the drag strip. I don't think you really need it. And on top of that, I'm a bit of a stickler for the installation process for the rear diff brace. And in my estimation, a lot of guys don't do it right, and they end up loading the rear diff. When in reality, all you have to do is just put enough torque on, not talking about where it bolts to the diff, but where it bolts to the cradle. You don't want to cinch that thing down and bind it. What you want to do is just get it wrist tight, just kind of go and like that. You don't want to get in there and really wrench it in. But yeah, the reality is that for what you're doing with the car, man, I don't think you would benefit a lot from a diff brace. It's not going to do a whole lot in terms of quelling any wheel hop, and I don't think you have a wheel hop issue now, so I think you're in good shape there. And Stuart's saying, yeah, only if you've got it taken to the drag strip. He was saying, also, have you seen the sheer amount of folks going away from the 9-inch conversion and back to stock diffs? So good point. I have heard of folks going away from the 9-inch. I also know there have been folks that have snapped the 9-inch, and that's the reason why they've gone back to stock diffs. The initial thought is that, well, the 9-inch is so much more robust. And although that may be the case, and that could be the case in other applications, in this application, don't get me to lying, because I can't tell you why folks are snapping them, but I have heard they're moving away from them. Part of it, I think, is also due with weight, although I don't know if that's, a big deal for some people, but and the expense. I mean, I was asking, hey, B, hope you're doing well. Thank you. Hope you're doing well, too. Any experience with the old 383s? It's limited. I've mainly dynoed them or driven them. A little bit of work on them, but not I mean, I didn't really do much of anything. It was just me kind of being in the same room while other people were working on it more than anything else. I'm pretty good to turn a wrench. And that was when I was a kid too. So it's been a while back, but I would have had a ton of experience with one had that asshole not sold that Roadrunner out from underneath me. So anyway, story for another time. Ardell saying track mode. I like track mode. For the cars that do have it, the dynamic suspension car or dynamic package cars, which is the old SRT package, track mode's a lot of fun. Oh, Ardell's saying he got the trolls into. Yeah, smoke those guys, man, for sure. As y'all know, there has been times when I have gone absolutely thermonuclear on folks, and I really won't do it now. I just wipe them off when they pop up. But thank you. Yeah, report them all. Samson, my truck is always in track mode. Nice. Track mode is stiff. Everything is stiff though. So here's the funny thing. Before I got the Scat Pack sway bar for Loomis Revlon, I couldn't use track mode in a Hellcat. It was so bad. How bad was it? Okay, it was so bad. It was noticeably uncomfortable. And I've got kind of a high tolerance for, I would like to think that I do anyway. I don't really, I'm more interested in how well the car handles than I am with the actual feel of it. But the fact is, with that other sway bar, it was just jarring. The funny thing though is that I know that there are guys with 5.7s and Scat Packs that do open, like in other words, a road course or autocross, either one, their cars, and they go looking for the Hellcat sway bar. I'm like, damn, you can have it if you want it. I am never putting that thing back on the car. It is so much more compliant with the Scat Pack, with the Scat Pack sway bar, and I can actually use sport. So that was where I was going with this is, I mean, y'all are talking about track mode being stiff. Guys, I couldn't even run my car with the suspension in sport for any real length of time with that Hellcat front sway bar. I mean, it was just, bouncy around all over the place. Unique saying, my car's in kick-ass mode. I like it. Dario's asking, should I cam my Hellcat even though it's a daily driver? No. Negative. The reason why, a couple of reasons why. One, when you cam a Hellcat, you're getting a tighter lobe separation angle and you're losing a lot of the variable cam action. Losing the variable cam action is not a big deal. Camming it, though, you're not going to see a big bump in power. What you will see, though, is a loss of boost. Now, you will make more power with less boost with a small cam, but it's going to feel sluggish. You're not going to feel more power, and you're going to lose the boost response down low because it's going to have a tighter lobe separation angle, wide lobe seps with a positive displacement supercharger. This is with all of them, but this is why guys that are putting cams together for positive displacement superchargers will always characteristically go with a wide by the standard lobe sep, is because you get a whole lot of boost response out of it. And with a positive displacement supercharger giving you boost like all right now, it plays to the compressor strengths. So that helps you. I am not the biggest fan. I put it to you like this. I've only had a few instances where guys said, I want a cam, and I'm going, okay. You put a cam together for them and they go, man, I love it. Normally you put the cam together for them and they go, well, it feels like it's slower with the cam. And you go, well, it's making more power, but you lost power down low, which is where the Hellcat makes a lot of power. And that's kind of the reason why you might feel like it's making less power, even though it's making more. I'll even go so far as to say this. I've driven cars that are making 700 horsepower to the rear wheels that felt slow compared to more stock varieties or cars with, Hellcats with stock cams. Anyway, so it depends on what you're going to do with the car. So let's say you're going to lose boost and you go with a cam that's like a 228, 242 style cam with a like 114 degree lobe set, it's going to lose a few pounds of boost. You can probably throw more pulley at it, recapture the boost, and now you're making a lot more power at the same boost. That sounds like it makes sense, and for a lot of guys, it does. And so there's that way that you can go about it. Again, it just depends on how deep you want to get into this build, and then you get into fuel systems and things like that. So just know that if you do cam a Hellcat, it's not going to come out the other side feeling altogether faster and may in fact feel like it's slower. But if you recapture the boost, then it's going to obviously make a lot more power than if you just put that same pulley ratio on the car with the stock cam. But you can still do that, and then the car makes a whole lot more power, and it just makes power down low, and then it feels like a riot to drive. So what's the better combination? I kind of like pulleying the stock cam just because I know how instant that power can be. Dad's asking if I'm on Facebook. I rarely, if ever, am on Facebook now. In fact, I don't know that my Facebook is still public. Now I'm thinking about it. Sam's talking about 05 2500. There was a fast ass Ram at the drag strip this past Friday. Oh, I'm in Texas. Unique's asking what state I'm in. I'm in Texas. Sam's asking, I think I need to dial back my truck Sam's saying I need to dial back my truck a few notches. There's a lot of heavy hitters running around down here with those trucks. One of them was there last night. Pretty sweet truck. Jason's asking thoughts on a 309 limited slip from a 6.4 and putting it in the 5.7. Seen a lot of guys go with that mod. Everyone seems to recommend it. It's a great one. And it's if you've got a 262 from the factory, it's a really solid upgrade. And yeah, I mean, it's easily the best rear end in terms of compromise for that power level for that car. And we're talking, highway punchiness. You still got a lot of downshift you can go with that. So yeah, definitely good. 370 is a good option too, but they're really expensive. Jeremy, Viagra mode. So I'm saying, okay, my head is nodding. Gotta go. I hear you, brother. Thanks for hanging out, man. Thank you as always, Chuck. Dario saying, thank you for that information. Sorry, the notification that I'm on from my other email is still up. So we get rid of that guy. So with that, guys, I have got to load this tune in the truck. I'm hoping that we're going to have some more tabs available for the DT Rams through HP Tuners. I say we just as, us in general. So again, just for reference, we've got the stop start feature as default to off, which for me is a huge deal. So I'm stoked about that. I know the engineer guys are still working on defaults for the tow haul mode for you guys with the DT Rams and for the traction control as well. I think they're working on that. It's going to take them a little bit to figure out what the deal is with that neutral shift. So until then, there's a good workaround by being able to get into the tow haul mode. But once they fix that, then you can just eliminate it everywhere. And that would make the truck a lot more drivable. Note to self for Ram. Ardell's got to check out. Thank you for hanging out, my friend. Always good to have you on, buddy. But guys, with that, I'm going to load the tune, get some data logging in, and then I got to wake up crazy early. But with that, listen, guys, thank y'all very much. Appreciate all the noobs. Guys, thank you for showing up. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Love each and every one of you. Would not do this without you. Remember, get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need it way more than you know. Ray, miss, and love you, brother. With that, that is a wrap. Y'all take care. Have a great one. We will see you on the next one. Adios.